This is the most aggressive opening in chess with the highest win rate for black. I played it in a real tournament. I'm gonna share with you exactly how to execute it in your games to achieve maximum result. The Sicilian defense, it starts with the move c5. My opponent played knight f3, absolutely the main line. And here my recommendation is d6, then we take the pawn on d4, all the main line, but here instead of the move a6 that almost everybody plays, the neither variation, I recommend knight to c6, the classical Sicilian. The reason is a6 is so complicated, so theory heavy, you need to memorize like 20,000 variations, whereas here you are very solid, you still have incredibly interesting opportunities, and we are gonna see it in this astonishing game. It's one of the best I have ever played in this variation, and you need to memorize, still that's the Sicilian, you need to learn a lot, but much less than in the other lines. Bishop g5, that is the most aggressive move that white has in the position. I play e6, queen to d2, a6, very important move because otherwise my d6 pawn might be in trouble. Castles, bishop goes to d7, otherwise knight to c6 might be a problem. And now white has a choice. There are a few main moves, but my opponent plays f4, the most aggressive move, just trying to go forward and destroy me. And that is the main line of the entire opening, so you might see it very often played. Now, what do we do? First things first, I played bishop to e7, I develop my bishop and deal with the pin. But this is the Sicilian, it's going to get very tricky. My opponent is going to try to checkmate me on this side of the board, whereas I'm going to try to checkmate him there. And it's so essential to understand how this opening works, because even if you memorize everything, it's not going to help you if you don't understand the main principles. I played this game in Greece, Kavala Open Tournament, very nice city, big thanks to organizers for making it possible. He takes on f6, which I think is a mistake. Like the main line is knight to f3, preparing the move e5, and then we go for b5, and the whole line just starts in this crazy variation. We take there, he takes here, and so on. But the whole point is, after knight to f3, now he, instead of e5, he can even take. That is the main line here. And I cannot take with the bishop, which would be my desired move. The bishop is so good. But unfortunately, this pawn on d6 is hanging. In the game, though, he decided to take immediately without the move knight to f3, which means this d-file is still closed. The d6 pawn is not hanging, and I can take with the bishop, which is much superior for me. Yes, he could have taken here on c6, but that would be a mistake. This endgame is actually great, and even though he grabs the pawn, I can immediately take it back and take on e4, and this position is actually better for black. My bishop is so great. So this is not a problem, and instead he played knight to f3 back. Now the knight is out of the way, so the d6 pawn is hanging again, and I cannot really lose it like that. So I played bishop e7. Yes, I lost a little bit of time, but I have a pair of bishops, I have a very healthy structure, and I'm ready to go for the checkmate. King to b1, I immediately played b5. I know this is one of the typical ideas, so without too much thinking, I just go for it. But he plays g4. He goes to attack me on the other side of the board. And this is like the funniest chess you can get, and also it's like a real thriller, because you don't know what's gonna happen next. So if you like this type of chess, this is the best thing you can do. I don't really want to castle. It's like the g4 move is screaming, I'm gonna destroy you on this side of the board. And Bobby Fischer was famous for castling just straight into that. I'm not that brave, and I don't really want to do that. So instead I played b4, just attacking this guy on c3, and then I played queen to b6, continuing my development. I just want to bring more pieces into the queen side to make my attack possible. He plays knight to g3, bringing yet another piece to this side of the board, saying that, okay, if you are gonna castle here, I'm gonna just kill you on the spot. I want you to pause the video for a second and figure out the next move for black. I hope you have taken your time, it's very instructive. I actually played the best move here, long castles. Can you imagine that? It's like, I'm attacking here, I want to give a checkmate, and I castle to the same side. But the key lesson to learn here. You make castles in chess to make your king safer, to bring it to the safety zone so you're not gonna get checkmated. But guess what? If I'm gonna castle here, I'm actually the chance is much higher that I'm gonna get checkmated here. So what's the point, right? Instead, I go here, and afterwards I even go king to b8, and the king feels pretty good here, at least up to a certain point. I almost got checkmated in this game later on. So my opponent plays bishop to g2, so far so good. King to b8, very useful. I might even consider going back to c8 with my rook and bring another rook. That was my plan, activating everything and continue my attack. And I thought, well, all of these pieces are kind of stupid because he was preparing for me to get to this side of the board to attack my king. But now, since my king is not there, what are all of those pieces doing there? Pretty much nothing. So I thought, okay, what am I doing here? Pause the video for a second, try to find the best move for black. Very instructive. I hope you have taken your time. I actually played the best move according to the engine, but I was not so sure during the game. I played bishop to c8. Very logical idea. I want to play, like, if you play something stupid, I think, yeah, d5 is immediately possible. Not the only move, but very clear intention. If I break in the center, I have a pair of bishops. Maybe bishop b7 first in the preparation would have been even better, but that's the plan. My opponent, instead of the stupid move h3, plays f5, which gives me a variety of opportunities. And this is the first key moment in the game. If you truly want to understand the Sicilian defense, I recommend you pause the video for a second and find the best move for black. You have a chance here to play better than me, International Master, because I actually made a mistake. When I was preparing for this game and I was learning this opening, I learned that in many cases you want to play e5 in a position like that, and that's exactly what I played in this game. Unfortunately, it's a big mistake. The key thing about this move, it like blocks all of those pieces, right? Because of this e4 pawn, they cannot do anything. But it only works if you can make sure the knight will never get to this d5 square. And even though it seems like the knights are far away from the square for now, he has a very simple plan. In fact, he played knight to f1, and he's gonna get to d5, and this knight is gonna control absolutely everything, and I'm gonna be miserable. We're gonna see what happened next, but first I wanna reveal that the best move was knight to e5. And I was actually thinking it for a long time, and stupid me, like, looking at the position right now, I don't even understand why on earth have I decided against it in the end of the day. The knight is really great on e5. It serves the same purpose of stopping all of those pieces, like this pawn on e4. He would just prefer to throw it away, and all of his pieces would spring to life. It would be so active, but because of this knight, all of that is not possible. Yes, you can take it, but that does not help. Now I achieved the goal of opening up the d file without opening up all of those pieces, and this is just so much better for black. Two bishops in an open position. So that might have happened. Unfortunately, I played e5, and he plays knight f1. He has this very direct plan, and I realized, oh my god, I made a huge mistake, and strategically I am busted. So I decided, in the true spirit of the Sicilian defense, I have to turn the tables. I have to change the character of the game. And so I played the move h5. Yes, the engine doesn't like it, but bear with me, it has a very concrete practical idea, and actually I'm pretty proud of this idea in terms of how the game went. I'm gonna lose against the engine 10 out of 10, no question about that, but against a real human being, I put a lot of pressure on him. It wasn't easy for him to play, and as a result, I succeeded. While I play h5, I want to attack this pawn on g4, which defends the pawn on f5. It was essential for me to make this f5 pawn less protected. He plays g5. He's like, well, h5 is just a huge mistake. Now my pawns are so active. But now this pawn is only protected by one e4 pawn. And my idea was to play d5 and just destroy the center completely. It serves a few purposes. First, in general, when you have two bishops, you want to open up the position. That would allow the bishops to really spring to life and enjoy its power. Because if you look at this bishop here, it's doing absolutely nothing. But once you open up the position, it has tremendous opportunities. Second, I want to stop the key idea of my opponent of bringing this knight on to d5. Here, he's just one tempo too slow. If he plays knight e3, of course, I win immediately with takes and takes. But if he takes, which he did, that is the best move, he wins a pawn. But now this pawn is on the way of this knight coming to d5. And that was my goal. Remember about this f5 pawn? It's so essential for me that I started with the move h5 so that now this pawn is not protected. Yes, I cannot take it immediately. I have thought about it, but that's not gonna work. He's gonna play knight takes e5, taking this center pawn, the most important one, and I don't think I have anything. In fact, the engine says it's time to resign for me. So I play f6 first. I want to cement this key pawn, and then the f5 pawn is still hanging. It's a big headache. I anticipated something like knight to e3, but then I have more opportunities. The knight is not getting to d5, and I'm overtaking the initiative, especially in the Sicilian defense. You don't really care about the pawns. You care about being in the driver's seat, being the one creating problems for your opponent, not solving the problems he creates for you. Instead of knight to e3 though, he played queen to e2 immediately. His idea is simple. He wants to attack my knight. Of course, you cannot take it, you're gonna lose your queen. So he steps to the side, but now, because my bishop is still on e7, I don't have this knight e7 move, which was my dream actually, to attack all of the pawns. But I said, okay, where do I go with my knight? I have a5 and a7. I chose a7 because it has a very direct and interesting idea. I want to remaneuver the knight all the way to b5, where it's going to be so active. Like imagine he plays a stupid move h3. Now knight to b5 threatens to win the game on the spot. Why? Because knight c3 is a fork, winning the queen, it's a brilliant move here, but if you take it, you're gonna get checkmated immediately. So that was my plan, simple enough, right? Unfortunately, my opponent, he's like one of the strongest guys under 14 years old, very strong, very progressing very fast. He, of course, doesn't make those stupid moves like h3, h4. He plays knight to d4 instead. The engine doesn't like it, but practically, of course, it's super active. Now, if I give him the opportunity to get here to e6, I thought I'm busted. Like this knight is super strong, the only way to get rid of it is to take, but then he can even take here. I mean, this diagonal is so great for him, and I thought, no way I would be able to hold on here. So instead, I just take this knight on d4. Yes, I lose my bishop on e7, but I take on f5, activating this guy, and suddenly I feel that I have my own threats. Yes, my opponent is still better, but I have my ideas, this really straightforward plan, knight b5, knight c3, but at the same time, it's very difficult. Go on and try to stop it. And last but not least, I also have prepared a tricky line against queen takes g7, which my opponent played. Seems like he's taken a pawn, he's ready to take another pawn, and the game is over. But I have this move rook to g8, with the subtle points that in the end of the day this bishop is hanging. He can still take, but then I take here. I was a little bit scared that, I don't know, this pawn might be dangerous, but in fact there are no ghosts and black is winning here. Instead of queen takes f6, he played queen f7, which is a fine move, he's not losing anything, but I thought it does not create any direct threats. So I have time, finally, to make my move, to go forward and crush my opponent. And I immediately took the chance. I played knight to b5. I'm ready to play knight c3, at least win the exchange. Remember, you cannot take it. To my surprise, my opponent played d6. And that is the only good move in this position. Like everything else, I have a huge advantage. But d6 is a very strong move. First, it opens up this bishop. Remember when I told you white would be happy to throw the pawn away? Well, now he kind of does. I mean, I can take it 3 times, but nobody cares. It's all about opening up this bishop and also opening up this queen. Because the same line knight to c3 check, which was winning before, now is just losing. In the end, he has queen to b3, blocking the checkmate. He's a piece up, and I should resign. So d6 is great. I was really upset about it. I took on g5. I mean, this move d6 also blocks the connection between the queen and the pawn, so queen takes f6 is a real threat. And now is my last chance to take this pawn and also attack the bishop in the process. He goes knight to g3, attacking my bishop. And I'm like, well, this is my best bishop. It's really putting a lot of pressure on his position. I don't want to give it up. So I played bishop g6 with a lot of dangerous tactical ideas in mind. I expected my opponents to take, but somehow he played queen to b3, which is actually a blunder, and that is what I thought, but I couldn't really take advantage of it. Feel free to pause the video for a second and find the best move and play better than me. I actually saw the right move immediately. That is h4 here. Unfortunately, I never played it, because in the last moment, I was about to play it and I was like, is my opponent stupid? How, like, what the queen is doing? And then I asked myself a question. Well, maybe there is a trick. You never should assume your opponent is stupid. And I noticed that he has this queen to f3 idea, threatening checkmate in one. And the moment I saw it, I was so terrified. I was like, oh my god, thank god I noticed it. But it turns out I was wrong, because h4 does work indeed. This position is much better, but only if you find this very subtle idea, like very difficult. Knight to c3 check. The king goes, yeah, brilliant move again. You cannot take it, checkmate. King goes away, and then knight to d5. All of a sudden, this knight serves as a shield, and there is no checkmate. And this knight is hanging, and if it goes somewhere, then there is bishop to h5, attacking the queen, attacking the rook behind that. This bishop is under attack, and I'm just winning. Fortunately, I was not smart enough to figure all of that out. And I played knight takes d6. I was terrified of this whole idea, but he still plays queen to f3. And the checkmate is still coming. Yes, I have eliminated this pawn, so I have this c7 square, but I thought now if I play, let's say, h4, I'm in big trouble, because he plays rook e7, he is controlling the 7th rank, and there is basically no defense against queen to a8 check. Notice that my knight is no longer on b5, so I don't have that knight c3, knight d5 idea. And I'm busted. And I have less than 10 minutes on the clock. Sicilian defense is tough. You make one mistake and you might easily lose. It's always a trade-off, right? You can win a lot, but you can also lose a lot. Like, okay, let me try to figure it out. Do the same, pause the video here, because there is only one move that gives black the advantage, and unfortunately I haven't found it. I hope you did. Very instructive moment. The right move is rook to c8, which, yeah, feels like very strong, but like, what on earth do you do against the checkmate? Rook e7, I thought, and then queen a8, like, I don't see a single solution against it. But it turns out you can take here with a check first, forking those pieces, and no, you're not gonna take the rook. Don't think he's gonna just take it back and you're happy. No, it's checkmate in one. But the real point is, you play rook c6, sacrificing the rook. But if you take it, then you're gonna exchange the queen, so there is no checkmate. And then in the end, you take this rook, which is also hanging, and the endgame is completely winning for black. That would have been brilliant. Unfortunately, I wasn't so smart with little time on my clock. Instead, I played rook to d7. I wanted to stop this move rook e7. I realized that is my main problem. Queen a8, yes, it's annoying, but I can live with it. I can play king c7. But if rook lands on e7, I thought I'm busted. By the way, if you play rook c8 and start with queen a8 check, and then rook e7, then the king kind of jumps over the rook, plays king to d8, and white is completely lost. The queen and the rook are hanging, and there is no way you can save both. But I played rook d7 instead, and my opponent goes queen takes f6. That is the drawback. Now he takes here, this is hanging, this is hanging. What do? I had an idea in mind. I played queen to c5, which defends here and attacks there. You don't want to allow your opponent to overtake the initiative, to be the one who always creates the threats and you're just there defending, especially in the Sicilian. Normally, the one who has the initiative in such a sharp position is the one winning. So I'm trying at the same time create a threat and deal with my opponent's threats. That is the best type of moves you have. And that works. My opponent makes a mistake. I thought he should just put something to the e-file, and then, yes, I'm not lost, but I thought my opponent is also fine. I'm not gonna create that many threats, maybe rook g2, but rook c1, he can defend it, and that's okay for him. And it should probably go into this endgame, which should be a draw, but he's even a pawn up. Instead of all of that, instead of putting something on e-file and just blocking that diagonal, he plays rook takes d4, which is a mistake, but for a very subtle reason. And again, the perfect opportunity for you to pause the video. You're going to learn so much in this game, and write in the comments what your idea was. I hope you found it. There is only one move that is great here for black. B3. Just absolutely astonishing. I have noticed that move a move earlier, and I was kicking myself for not playing, but in fact there it wasn't great. And here I was like, wait, he took the pawn. Yes, of course I'm not happy to lose a pawn, but I was like, there are no direct threats. Like the check, I still have this very nice square on c7. So I have my move. That means I have to be active, I have to be aggressive, I have to create a threat. You might think that queen to c2 was the move, but in fact he's hiding here in the corner and I don't really have a lot of dangerous follow-ups. But if I play b3 first and he takes here, then in the same variation it's going to be a checkmate immediately, because I'm gonna have rook a5, I have opened up the king, and that is just straightforward checkmate. But what do you do about the b3 move? I mean, the pawn is really hanging, you don't really want to lose it like that. My opponent played a3. Yes, it's not possible to save it, but at least he thought his king would be more or less secure. And again, thank God I have found all of the right moves here, even though the engine says it's a mistake, it's absolutely wrong. He says itself that that's the best line for black, so it's a little bit confusing. But the real power is after king to a1, please pause the video and find the best move for black. It's so useful. If you don't make one of the two following moves, you're lost, like deadly lost without any chances. The right move is, you want to get to c5 to threaten this checkmate, but that's not the best thing. You want to play rook a5 first, where you threaten the checkmate, like if you do anything as white, rook takes a3, takes, and queen a2 checkmate. And the only way to stop it really is to play a4. And so you provoked this move. And that's what happened in the game. And only then I played rook to c5. Again, this is the best move. I don't know why it says a miss. Yeah, rook c5 is just the best move. And queen c1 is the checkmate threat. But in a situation where this pawn is on a4, which is much more beneficial for me. So the strategy here is to weaken your opponent's position as much as possible, create as many problems for him as possible. He played queen to f4, which simultaneously stops the threat of the checkmate and kind of creates a problem for me. He wants to take here and just get to my king. I want you to find the best move again. This is so instructive, so please take your time. You're gonna learn a lot. There are two great moves here. I made the best. Rook to c7, also practically, I think this is the best. The second one is king a7 if you have something else that's wrong. But king a7 is so much more difficult in terms of human being. But rook c7 is great. It threatens checkmate in one move. Like if you take here, I don't care about anything. I'm going to lose all of my pieces. But that doesn't matter because I'm delivering a checkmate. And otherwise, now, like this knight was pinned twice, first here and second here. And I solve all of those problems because now the knight can move and the rook behind that is not hanging. That is very helpful. He played queen to f8 check and just used my knight to defend my king. The knight is a very good defender for the king. So my opponent is in big trouble. I have tripled along the c file, created this checkmate threat. Queen f4 back is not going to help. Still queen c1 is a checkmate. So instead, he continues throwing some checks at me, the only thing he can do. I play king to a7, but that doesn't solve his problem. I mean, how do you stop the checkmate? If you're wondering, rook b1 is not the solution, because I can just take it. So he plays rook to b7 to distract my rook. I take it, and he cannot even take it back. The checkmate still happens. So he plays knight to e2. And here, I thought it's time to end the game with something amazing. Feel free to pause the video for a second if you want to find it. Yes, I can play something normal, like bring the rook back to c7 and renew this threat of queen c1. But that was the last game of the tournament. The tournament was really tough, so I really wanted to finish it on a bright note. Queen takes b2, sacrificing the queen for just one pawn, all to get to my opponent's king. That is what is essential in the Sicilian defense. Rook to c2, that is of course the idea. Now if you go anywhere to the a file, I'm gonna just checkmate you. So the only move is king to b1. But now you notice this bishop, which is ready to deliver a check. The rook just has to go somewhere, and I played rook to e2 check. Again, you cannot go to the a file because of the checkmate, so he played king to c1. And now, unfortunately, I didn't notice the most beautiful end to this game. I can play rook to c2 back. Now, if you go to d1, and this is what I missed, there is just a checkmate on the spot. But if you go to b1, then I just take the bishop, I continue taking all of the pieces away from you, and then I just promote and give you a checkmate. That would have been really beautiful. But I was satisfied with the move b2 immediately, then rook takes e1. Now if you take it, then b1 win. He played king to d2 instead, just to avoid the checks and give one check before death. But that, of course, doesn't help. I just played knight to b6, and after bishop takes, I just continued with all of those checks until finally my opponent resigned here. So this is exactly how you use the Sicilian defense to crush your opponent. If you want to massively improve your chess in the next 30 days, in this video I share with you a completely free 30-day training plan that I have prepared for you. It's gonna transform your chess once and for all.